Do you think the height plays a really good role in the bounce and the pace?
You can bowl your best ball and he still finds a way to hit it to the boundary.
Why do you think that team is also losing out on that opportunity?
Oh, I don't particularly have a team. I do have.
Captaincy of Dhoni or the batting of Dhoni makes him so special.
I think he really empowers his players. You never see him flustered.
There were a few challenges that India faced there.
Because Virat Kohli is one of the all-time great players.
What was the phenomena about King Kohli?
You have banter, you have a bit of fun. There were teams that talked as much, if not more, than what we did on the field. Sub Matiga Abbey in Champions Trophy.
But do you think that Pat Cummins missing out ICC tournament, that too in the subcontinent, will be a big blow to the Australian side?
I think Pat Cummins missing this tournament is a blow to Australia. He's one of Australia's best ever bowlers in all formats. And he's the captain. So clearly that's going to be a blow for Australia. Not too sure who they'll recruit into the side. But yeah, his leadership, his quality bowling are going to be sorely missed by the Australians.
So the past 4 years for this captaincy of Pat Cummins has been really, really good. Like people in India especially are comparing him to the prime Ricky Ponting captaincy as well. Do you think the similarities between both of them, like Ricky Ponting captaincy and Pat Cummins captaincy?
Yeah, I think there's certainly similarities. I think the respect that each of these guys have amongst the playing group and the wider Australian community. I think Ricky was an incredibly highly respected captain, and I think you could put Pat in the same conversation there. He's highly respected by his peers and certainly by the wider Australian cricketing public. So yeah, his leadership style is very collaborative. He likes to involve his teammates in decision making, and yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic.
And a lot of people talk about Pat Cummins with the 2023 World Cup on 19th November. Just before that, he said everyone that I will silence the whole crowd. And turning out to the main day, Travis Head was the main silencer. How do you think the players like Travis Head, have significantly dominating in the cricket field and have changed the course of batting?
Yeah, you mentioned Travis Head. He's obviously been a wonderful player, particularly the last few years for Australia. It took him a little while to, I suppose, cement a spot in Australia's best team. But through hard work and dedication, he's certainly done that. What he does really well is put pressure back on the bowlers. Bowlers, speaking to bowlers around Australia and around the world, they feel they're never quite settled. They can never settle against Travis Head. Come in and bowl because he's so aggressive. You can bowl your best ball and he still finds a way to hit it to the boundary. And that sort of talent is not common. It's pretty rare, and that's what makes him such an important player for this Australian side.
And if Jason Gillespie is bowling to prime Travis Head, what would the best bowl to get him out?
Oh, gee whiz. Well, I'd certainly bowl quite straight to him. I think teams make the mistake of giving him width because he's such a strong player through the offside, off the front and back foot. You just can't afford to give him width because he'll look to play it through the offside from off stump. So I think you have to be really tight with your lines and lengths. So top of the stumps, but you probably want to be aiming for more middle and off stump. So that would be the way I'd do it, but back in my pomp. But if I was actually bowling now, it'd be about 100 k's an hour, so I'd get absolutely smashed.
But talking about your bowling, you are really tall. You are really tall, and I've seen bowlers like you and Moni Morkel who have really good height. Do you think the height plays a really good role in the bounce and the pace?
Yeah, absolutely. The height of fast bowlers, it gives them more margin for error in terms of the length they bowl. Shorter bowlers, the ball tends to skid onto the bat a lot easier, and particularly on the subcontinent where the ball is a bit, the surfaces are a bit lower and slower. Having bowlers with a bit more height and can use their height to extract more bounce out of the surface are very much in demand. And that's one thing Australia have had, and that's probably what they're going to miss with Hazelwood Cummins not being around. They miss their pace, their skill, but also their height.
Okay, and with Pat Cummins and Josh Hazelwood and Marcus Stoinis not in the squad, who do you think will be the prime contenders for the Champions Trophy final?
Oh, I'd still like to back Australia in. I think Australia have got some real depth. I think India are going to be a very dangerous side in this Champions Trophy. I think they've got a lot of match winners. They're aggressive batting. They've got some very clever bowlers. Both pace bowlers and spin options. So and they've got the all rounders as well. So I think India are going to play a real role. I just wonder if there's going to be a team that will play well. South Africa are a chance of playing quite well. I think New Zealand are always dangerous. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, if you ask me, I think India and South Africa and Australia are probably the teams to beat.
All right. And I hope you don't mind if I ask the question that why you haven't picked Pakistani side as the prime contenders, because they are the host nation.
Pakistan are the host nation, but there's just a lot of inconsistency with their selection policies. I think Saim Ayub, the young dashing left-handed batsman, opening batter, I don't think he's going to be fit. I think he's a real loss. I think he's one of the most talented batsmen in the whole world. I think he's a wonderful player who's going to have an amazing career. But Pakistan, it'll be interesting to see what they go into this tournament with, and what team. There'll be a lot of expectation on Pakistan. And hopefully they can rise to the occasion, because it's great that Pakistan are hosting an international tournament. It hasn't been since the 1990s, so it's been a long time for the people of Pakistan to be able to see their country host a big tournament. So I'm really excited for Pakistan cricket, really excited for the Pakistan people, and obviously all the players. I'm looking forward to seeing them do well.
All right. And you've been a part of the Pakistani squad as you've been the coach of Pakistani team, but you had a kind of a bitter experience with especially the PCB. Can you just tell me in the brief experience that what went wrong with them?
Yeah, look, I really enjoyed my time with the Pakistan players and the coaching staff. They're wonderful people. I think there's so much talent in Pakistan cricket. It's amazing that just the talented batsmen, bowlers that I saw in my short time with Pakistan cricket. That there's some high end talent. There's some really skillful cricketers there, and they're great guys. I really enjoyed working with the players and the coaching staff. Look, there was just a lot of communication issues and a lot of things behind the scenes that kept changing over and over again. And some decisions that were being made without any consultation. Just got to a point where I didn't think it was tenable to be in that position, and I didn't really feel particularly supported as head coach, and so I decided to take a step back.
All right. And talking about your coaching, you've been a coach for Punjab as well, right?
Yeah, look, I was very fortunate nearly 15 years ago now to have that experience with the Punjab Kings. That was as a bowling coach. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. They were great people, great franchise. Had a lot of fun and enjoyed that experience. It was my only experience in the IPL. And what a wonderful tournament it is, and it's just gone from strength to strength over the years, and it's becoming even. I don't know how it can become even more popular. It's very popular, right. But certainly even more popular now, and it'll continue to go from strength to strength. And we've seen what impact the IPL has had on world cricket. We see a lot of countries have got their own T20 tournaments. IPL franchises are involved in other countries and buying stakes in various teams around the world. So the IPL is very much the big fish in the pond of T20 cricket.
And do you regularly follow the IPL or not?
Yeah, I follow the IPL. I love cricket, so I'm a cricket tragic, and I like to follow it. I've got some players that I've coached over the years playing in the IPL, so it's always nice to follow them and see how they go. And yeah, it's just I think it's a high quality tournament with lots of wonderful players. I mean, to have all the best players in the world all playing in a domestic tournament, why wouldn't you watch it?
So tell me, first of all, that since you've been a part of coaching staff for Punjab Kings, why do you think that they still miss out the opportunity to grab their hands on the title, especially being so much favorite to the Australians? Because recently they just got Ricky Ponting as their coach. Their whole
Yep.
squad is filled with most of the Australian players. So why do you think they're still missing out the opportunity to get their hands on the trophy?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'm not sure I quite have an answer. But I think they've over the history of the IPL, they've probably been one of those middling teams, a team that has either just made the playoffs or just missed out on the playoffs.
Right.
I would suspect their win-loss record is probably pretty even over the history of the IPL. They've probably won the similar amount of games that they've lost, so they're a middling team. For them to take the next step, obviously you need your match winners, and obviously you'll have overseas players come in, but you need to make sure, in my opinion, that your domestic Indian players, you've got a good mix of quality domestic players, and then you top up your list with the specific overseas players that can do specific roles. But you've got your core group of Indian players. They need to be of quality and have specific roles. And if you can do that, I think the more successful IPL franchises, if you think of Chennai and Mumbai, they've got a really good core group of local Indian players that play well together. They fulfil specific roles within the franchise, and then they top up their team with specific overseas players. Yeah.
So one more team as well that people talk a lot about, that's RCB. Being captained by Virat Kohli for over the years, Gillespie, they have some really good players like ABD, Chris Gale, and they still again miss out the opportunity to get their hands on the trophy. Why do you think that team is also losing out on that opportunity?
Yeah, I just wonder whether they've got their strategies right over the years. RCB, they've always had quality batting, haven't they? But I think that there've been a lot of times they haven't been able to actually defend their totals. So if they've found themselves batting and scoring a big score, they haven't found a way to be able to defend those totals. So I'm not sure if they quite know their bowling strategy at particularly their home ground there in Bengaluru. But yeah, I think key for RCB would be to make sure that their core group of Indian players get the best quality players, and then top up with some good quality overseas signings, and that can complement the local players. I think that's key.
So now we have talked about the two teams. I just want to ask you that who's your favorite team?
Oh, I don't particularly have a team. I do have a soft spot for Punjab Kings. Obviously, because I was there. But in the end, I like watching a good game of cricket. So whatever game's playing, I like following Travis Head. I've worked a lot with at South Australia and the Adelaide Strikers, and he's at Sunrisers. So I always keep an eye on how he's going and how that team is going. But if you push me, I'd probably say Punjab, as I've worked for them in the past.
Great to know, because that's my favorite team too.
Perfect.
But talking about MS Dhoni, what do you think that the captaincy of Dhoni or the batting of Dhoni makes him so special that he's still so much dominant in the world cricket?
Yeah, look, I haven't worked with MS Dhoni, but I watched him from afar for a long time, and he just comes across, it just seems whatever team he's involved with, whether it be India, whether it be Chennai Super Kings, he's just got a real element of calm about him. And I think he really empowers his players. You never see him flustered. You never see him get too flustered or too animated. He just gives off a real feeling of being calm, even if the situation is challenging for his team. He demonstrates a real sense of calm, and I think that filters through his whole team. And you've seen Chennai have pulled off some wonderful wins over the years from positions that you could say are quite difficult to win from.
Right.
And who's central to that more often than not? It's MS Dhoni. And so I just think he brings a real sense of calmness to that dressing room.
And what do you have to say about the recent Border Gavaskar Trophy? Like, India was there, and there were a few challenges that India faced there. But mostly it was like Australia was dominating almost every session. So, what do you think that India was lacking in those test matches?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think obviously they could have batted a little bit better. They had a couple of players that were probably not in the best form.
Just to break you in, just to break in,
Sorry.
do you think they were missing Pujara and Rahane badly?
I think Cheteshwar Pujara is a wonderful player, and someone who can get the Australian bowlers bowling subsequent spells. Would have been handy for them for sure. But I just think, that they didn't have enough contributors with the bat consistently, and I just don't think from a seam bowling perspective they had much support for Jasprit Bumrah, who was unbelievable in that series, by the way. He was the one that was keeping India in the games. He was just unbelievable. And speaking to the Australian batsmen, they said that's as challenging a bowling as they've ever faced in their careers. He was absolutely superb, and he kept India in with a chance each test. So he was wonderful. But yeah, I think probably just a little bit more support. I don't think it helped India that Ravi Ashwin retired mid-series. He certainly would have come into the mix to play the last two test matches, and he could have made a difference. But yeah, it just didn't look the most harmonious Indian team that I've seen in my experience. Looked like there was just a bit going on behind the scenes, and I don't know if there was anything going on behind the scenes, but they just didn't look the happiest camp.
Okay, so you talked about like lot going behind the scenes in the dressing room, probably. How do you make out that? Like, what was going bad? Was it like captain versus coach, or the team was not gelling up? What do you think was the situation behind the scenes?
Yeah, I just think some of the stuff that was coming out in the media. Obviously, Gautam Gambhir, the coach, snapped back at some comments that were made. I think Ricky Ponting made a couple of comments about the Indian team at the start of the series, and Gambhir had a shot back at Ricky, and it just seemed very short with the media. Having closing off sessions to the media, suggests that things aren't, people aren't quite happy. We all have a role to play. We know the media is an important part of our game and our sport, and promoting our sport. And just some of those decisions that were made just made me think there was something going on behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. And tell me that whenever India is touring Australia, especially for the test matches, there's always a phenomena about King Kohli. Like I read the newspaper next morning when they had a banter with Kohli, some crybaby Kohli, or there was something in the media, right? Why do you think people in Australia love so much about Virat Kohli?
Because Virat Kohli is one of the all-time great players, and Australian cricket supporters love seeing the best players. And it was really interesting to note whenever Kohli came out to bat, the crowd were up and about. They were excited. They just want to see the best players play. And and I know in the media that they can get stuck in, but it's just to try and there's so much respect for Virat Kohli in Australia, because he's just been such a wonderful player for so many years. And I suppose it's always a bit of a shame when a player's coming towards the back end of their careers, because you just wonder, are we ever going to see them play live again? And that's probably part of it. Who knows if Virat's going to be part of the next Indian Test squad to come out to Australia? Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see.
So why do you think that Virat not going to be in the next squad, and especially for Rohit Sharma as well, because you have seen them closely batting? What do you think they are doing wrong? Because especially in the Test match in this Australian tour, he was getting out almost 8 times on the same delivery outside of the stump. What do you think that he needs to practice? Does he needs to go to that video of Sachin Tendulkar not going outside of the stump?
Well, yeah, I mean, Virat did get out in a similar fashion a number of times in the series. He just seemed to be playing at deliveries that he probably didn't need to play at. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's a combination of wanting to field bat on ball, get down to the other end, keep the scoreboard ticking over. Bear in mind, the Australians bowled wonderfully well to him. The Australian seam bowlers. Please remember, they're some of the best bowlers that Australia's ever produced in the history of the game. So it's no disgrace to get out to them, as they're very, very fine bowlers. But yeah, I just think maybe just sometimes batters can almost try too hard as well. And you're so desperate to put a performance on the board, you just go and feel for the ball and because you want to score runs. So in answer to your question, I'm not sure what he needs to do. I'm sure Virat's working incredibly hard with his batting coach and to rectify any little things that have crept into his game. But look, he's a fine player, and and he'll go down as one of the all-time greats.
Mm-hmm. And talk us about that prime Australia. Ricky Ponting, McGrath, Jason Gillespie, Andrew Simons, Michael Clarke, youngster coming in, especially that 2003 World Cup. You literally dominated the entire world cricket. So what was the dressing room culture there? Or you used to be always in that era that we have to dominate in each and every match?
Well, our goal was to win every game we played. And the names you mentioned, these guys have gone down in history as some of the all-time greats of Australian cricket, all-time greats of world cricket. It was a pretty special environment. Dressing room was probably not too dissimilar to other dressing rooms. You have banter, you have a bit of fun, you take the mickey out of each other, all good-natured, of course. But there was a shared purpose and, shared common goals. And it was we're representing Australia and everyone's got a job to do. And I think, for players, if players are really clear and know exactly what's expected of them and what their role is, it gives them the best chance to go out and actually perform it if they know exactly what they need to do. And we were fortunate. Everyone had their role. It was clearly defined. You knew what you needed to do, and then it was just a matter of going out and executing it.
And talking about that dominance over the world cricket, this Australian side was especially known for their sledging as well. Was that part of the culture, or was that natural, or used to plan that we will sledge this specific player?
Look, I personally wasn't a big talker to opposition players. Look, everyone talks about sledging and whatnot. There were teams that talked as much, if not more, than what we did on the field. It's just the focus was on us a little bit more from the public than the media. And we had some big personalities who weren't afraid to chat on the field. But me, I didn't hear a lot of it. I was obviously walking back to my mark, so I didn't witness many things. I always felt that my best way of intimidating batsmen was getting back to my mark and bowling well. And if I bowled well, then if I was doing my job to the best of my ability, then I was giving ourselves the best chance of having success. So that's the way I approached it.
But did you guys because we have heard the stories from the legends of that Australian team that he used to make some planning for Sachin Tendulkar, for Virendra Sehwag, or for Rahul Dravid or VVS to sledge them and get their mind shaky and then get them out. Was you ever a plan?
Not for me specifically, but if the the fielders behind the wicket might have said a couple of choice words just to get under the skin of the batsman. Is if someone said something to, say, Sachin or VVS, just to if it takes them away from what their goal is, which is to watch the ball and play the ball. If we could say something that rattled them or got them not thinking about their batting, then that's what the boys did. But look, I think it's overplayed a little bit. I think there was more made of it than there actually was, to be perfectly honest.
All right. And who was your toughest Indian batsman bowl to?
Look, Sachin was a wonderful player. Look, I played in an era where there was lots of great Indian players. I'll tell you who I was sick of the sight of towards the end of my career was VVS Laxman, because I played under 19s for Australia against India, and we went to India, and VVS Laxman played every game and absolutely smashed us all over the park. And then I get to Test cricket, and lo and behold, who's standing there at the other end? It's VVS Laxman again. And I'll go, here we go. This is under 19s all over again. And yeah, and he's smashed us everywhere as well. He was a wonderful player, VVS, a lovely human being. But what a player he was. So I found him quite challenging. Rahul Dravid was a superstar of a player. Virender Sehwag was tough to bowl to because he put pressure back on. He didn't mind trying to smack you for six, even if it's first ball. But yeah, look, all players. Ganguly was a very fine player. But yeah, so many great players. Hard to single one out. But they were all very tough to bowl to.
And in your prime era, we used to see a lot of bowlers coming with the pace, swing, Yorkers, and reverse swing. But these days, the modern cricket with the modern bowling, they have come out with knuckle balls, slower ones, mixing the deliveries, right? How do you make that is helping the cricket? Or do you think that the traditional bowling should be the main thing for the bowlers?
Well, it depends which format you're playing. So, the traditional format, Test cricket, that's all about patience and time. You've got to you've got time. You've just got to be patient. You'd think you put a shoebox on a length and you look to try and hit that as often as you can, top of off stump, be patient. In particularly Indian conditions, if the ball deteriorates on the square or the outfield, you keep one side shiny and you look to get reverse swing, but always looking to target the stumps. And then the shorter formats, I think, particularly with the advent of T20, it's got bowlers becoming much more inventive and different ways to get the batsman out or restrict their scoring. So, as you mentioned, knuckleballs, there's slower balls, split finger deliveries, cutters, all sorts of changes of pace, use of the crease, bowling from wider of the crease, bowling closer to the stumps, over and around the wicket. These are all the tactics you use, and it would depend on who you're bowling to. Specific batters might not like a certain angle that you come in on, or certain deliveries they struggle with. So, it's all about planning, and then ultimately you've got to execute the delivery that you're bowling. So it comes down to practice and consistency.
All right. And in the end, I've got two questions similar to each other. One match that you want to relive again.
Oh, a match that I want to relive again. Well, I'll tell you what, 2001 in Calcutta, when we made India follow on, and then VVS got 281, and Rahul got 100, 190. Yeah, I wish we got them out a lot cheaper. That would have been better for us, because I think, with them following on, we fielded for nearly 250 overs. So that was hard yakka in the Kolkata heat. That's for sure.
So I'm glad you mentioned about that match. Tell me, what was the dressing room arena at that time? What were you thinking with Steve Waugh making the planning that how do we need to get these guys out? Because India was getting a follow on, and it's like almost impossible to get to chase them down.
Yeah, it was. We knew we were witnessing some pretty special innings. I mean, for VVS Laxman, Shane Warne was bowling around the wicket into a lot of the rough, and VVS was still running down the wicket and smacking him everywhere. And I remember one situation where Shane actually stood in the middle of the wicket and started clapping because he was so impressed by a certain shot that VVS played. Just out of the rough, he just smacked him, and Shane didn't have any answers for them. None of us fast bowlers. So I think Steve ended up using pretty much all our batters. Matthew Hayden bowled. I think Justin Langer even had a bowl. We had no answer. That they were just far too good on that occasion, and it was pretty quiet dressing room. I think we were all pretty tired from the Kolkata heat. That's for sure.
Right. And in the end, one match that you just want to forget and want to erase from your memory.
Well, I almost could say the same game, but
no. Now you have to pick another game.
Yeah, no. One game that I want to erase from my memory, and Sri Lanka versus Australia in 1999 in Kandy, the first Test match. I ran into Steve Hoare on the field. Steve broke his nose and I broke my right leg. And so I missed that whole summer of cricket in Australia. So I wish I could erase that game from my mind because, it was a pretty sickening collision and one that, cost me a season of cricket.
All right. So, Jason, on that note, I'll end this interview. And thank you so much for joining us. And let's hope for this season, Punjab Kings really get to the trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. Go Punjab Kings. Thanks for the chat. Really enjoyed it.
All right. Jason, in the end, I just want to request you. You just have to say one thing that's going for my program. Sub Batayega Abby in Champions Trophy.
Sub
Batayega
Mataiga
Abby
in
Champions.
Sub Mataiga Abbey in Champions Trophy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jason.